Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today at Gateway Church for Table Talk, and I have a special guest today. Very special guest. His name is Austin, and he is Pastor Mel's son. Welcome, Austin, to Table Talk.
Thank you for
joining us. So let's just start right off with, where are you from? Where's your family from? Where were you born?
So I was born in Davis, California. I don't remember any of that. I was infant when we left. From there we moved to either Fort Worth or Houston. I cannot remember for the life of me, where I went to preschool and started into elementary. And I have memories of that. From there we moved to Monroe, Washington, where I went all through elementary school into started middle school. But then we jumped over to Tri-Cities here, where I went to middle school for 1 year. We were in a period of moving around, trying to figure out where we were going. Mm-hmm. We had our mindset on Nampa, Idaho, where my dad planned to plant a church. So we eventually moved there, and I went to middle school all through Nampa, Idaho, where we planted our church. But God had other plans for us and moved us back here to take over my grandpa's church. And ever since then, I've been here.
Okay.
So.
Great. So growing up in, I'm just going to guess, from the time that you were able to really talk and have conversations with your parents and they were introducing Jesus as a part of your life, that's kind of where your foundation was.
Absolutely.
And then, and what was that like growing up for you, with a pastor's, perspective on it?
Yeah. Definitely wouldn't change it for the world. I loved being a pastor's son. There's a lot of people who don't like it, but for me, I loved it. Right away, I got to see what a life with Jesus is, and the joy it brought, and the love and the kindness that my parents, gave onto us. They'd always, every day, say "I love you," and I really believe that's the love of Jesus that you could see through them, and. I got to see the ups and downs too, but every single down would become an up because we had Jesus on our side. And so, yeah, I definitely grew up with a strong relationship, at least understanding and love of Jesus. So,
did you, now moving a little bit more fast forward, you go to high school, you get a little older, you have influences in high school, and maybe some aren't Christian, some aren't, and then you go through challenges yourself where you might say, God, why did this happen? You may not be happy with him this particular day. What can you bring to tell us about that?
Yeah, so high school is a tough time for everyone. You're starting to really get thrown in with a lot of different mindsets and people. And so it was a challenge being a Christian when it felt like no one else was.
Right.
And there, it was a period where I didn't really like myself. I wasn't, I didn't like my body. I didn't like, how Jesus made me. Like, why do you make me look like this or something like that? It was, a petty reason, but I was upset because I saw a bunch of other people. I was like, why can't I look as good as that person? Or why can't I have a body like that? And it was a struggle for sure. But I always had that background though, so I always had somewhere to run to. But I wouldn't say it was always strong. No, right. Through high school it was definitely not too great. So. And
then you mentioned something about there was a point where you were kind of missing that relationship with Jesus, but then you were able to get it back, and what happened there?
Yes. So a weird story. We were buying. I guess let's talk about. So I wouldn't even say I didn't even have that strong of a relationship with Jesus. I knew him. I knew he loved me, and he was closer than a brother. But it didn't feel that way. So 1 year when we got new phones, and this was after high school, we went to buy new phones at AT&T. We met a guy, can't remember the name for the life of me, who turned out to be a Christian, and he shared a song with us, and I don't remember the name of the song. I actually think I have it saved on my phone though, like favorited on YouTube, and the song just breathed life into me. It lit a spark. Just seeing the struggles that the guy who sang the song went through, and how much he loves Jesus, and how he, instead of being angry at Jesus for what happened through his life, how he's used it as a tool to help others and grow in his life. So it was a weird way to get back into Jesus, through some unknown guy at AT&T.
So can you talk a little bit about, if you were to give some words of wisdom to those who are going through tough times, lost their way, struggles, wanting answers right away versus patience. They're in just an overall tough spot, because getting through this journey called life can be very, very, very hard. And what can you let people know from your perspective of what would be helpful?
Very hard question, and I'm not my dad, so I don't have the perfect answer. He doesn't even have the perfect answer. We're always learning. There's never a point where we're not learning. But I gotta say, having that mindset that God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, they want the absolute best for you. They love you unconditionally and are closer than a brother. They are the strongest friendship you'll ever have. And wouldn't you want them?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you want a relationship? Wouldn't you want to believe in someone who wants the utmost best for you? So you just, there's going to be times where it's going to be tough, but we don't know the grand scheme of things, and we don't see all the pictures, but we just got to have that trust that he wants the best for me. So I gotta remember that.
Well, thanks for sharing that perspective. It's very valuable to hear people share all these things, because with an accumulation, it can help all of us.
Absolutely.
So in closing, I'd like to ask, are there some fun facts about you that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I got some weird facts. So first one, I play some weird instruments. I play the bass. You guys have seen me play the bass, or if you haven't, I occasionally will play the bass. But I can play the harmonica, the bones, I can play the saxophone, but the weirdest one I can play is the nose flute. So Hawaiian nose flute. And it is as weird as it sounds. You plug one nose and you're playing with a nostril. It's where your breath comes from. I'll have to bring it one time so I can share with everyone. But another thing would be, I'm a huge board game lover. If I could, I'd be buying a new board game every week. But money,
Right.
So I just love to be around other people having fun at a table, just being with each other, in the presence of each other. And with that, I love making my own games. Every Christmas Eve, I make a family game that we do, Family Feud, Jeopardy, all kinds of party games. I love being able to see everyone enjoy it and have, just good camaraderie. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you one last question.
Okay.
What is it that you like the most about Gateway Church?
There's a lot to like about Gateway Church. I know, tooting our own horn, the pastor's son. The two biggest things are it's family, really. It's not just a church, and we're not just friends. We're family. The relationships you build here are strong and everlasting. No offense to mega churches, not my thing, but you don't get the same feeling in relationships that you can build.
Agreed.
And then the other one would have to be tables. Sorry, Grandpa, I've fallen asleep at some of your messages sitting on the rows, and Dad, sorry. But just being able to interact with everyone, and I feel like I'm learning more because I'm participating.
Yeah.
Those are got to be my two favorite things.
I think if every church could do this, it would be a whole nother.
I can't do church differently. I can't. Yeah. It would feel like a foreign object to me.
Yeah, and then the thing is, you don't have to share if you don't want to.
Exactly.
So there's no pressure. So he always says, no fixing, you don't have to share, there's no pressure. So when new people come, they can just sit back and listen, and they can
absolutely.
And they're not judged if they put in an opinion that is not favorable.
It ain't our job. That's the Holy Spirit's job. Yeah, and we got the table facilitators to kind of guide the table, so we're well equipped and well trained. So.
Yeah. Your dad made a good call on that one. Well, Austin, thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone for tuning again for our Table Talk, and we'll see you at the next Table Talk when I'll have another guest speaker. Take care.